Good morning, everybody. Good morning from England. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, as Roger said, I'm the Deputy Director of the Healthcare Programme at the Alan Turing Institute. I'm also a Professor at the University of Southampton, where I hold a joint position between Mathematical Sciences and the Faculty of Medicine. So I actually have a couple of slides I'd like to share. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you see that okay now?
Yes.
So I'd like to make a few comments. I was really pleased to read this report actually, because it resonates with lots of work we're doing at the Turing Institute. So to set the scene for those comments, I'd just like to give a very brief introduction to what we're doing, because it will relate to some of the points I'd like to make. So I'll keep it quite brief. Many of you might not know what the Alan Turing Institute is. It's actually the UK National Institute for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence. And so we have a number of different programs. Health is one of the programs. It's one of the larger programs. But we also have programs in public policy, data science for science, defense and security, finance, and so forth. And really what we have is a network of industry, charity and government partners, and particularly a network of university members. So we have a rather diverse community that brings in expertise across the data science landscape, but also across domain applications. So for example, we have clinicians involved in our network and we have policymakers involved in the network. And so really what we're trying to do is, first of all, develop some of the latest, the best methods for data science and artificial intelligence. So there's the technical side of things. And then also there's the application side of things, applying those methods to important problems, real world problems. And of course, we're interested in clinical and medical problems. Additionally, we want to train the next generation of data science and artificial intelligence leaders, and also provide training and guidance for the public on the uses of artificial intelligence and data science, and also to shape the conversation around data more generally. So in fact, the community is rather large. We have what we call fellows, and generally they're senior academics, and we have around 400 fellows from across the UK that are researching in diverse areas of data science and artificial intelligence, broadly defined. And then we have many PhD students and research fellows and so forth. So within the health program, particularly, we're interested in using data science methodologies to gain a better understanding of the mechanisms of disease. So not just predicting things, but understanding the underlying causal mechanisms of disease. And they could be cellular, they could be molecular, they could be genetic. And of course, there'll be environmental and social factors involved as well. And then we want to use that understanding to benefit healthcare through improved decision-making. So I say all of that really as a sort of preamble to some of the things that I was really interested to read in the report, and also resonate with our kind of approach that we're taking at the Turing Institute. So the first point, I think, is that in order to develop trustworthy AI technologies, there really has to be a strong connection between clinicians and patients and other stakeholders in the development of the process itself. So for a long time, we've seen these as being two separate communities: the computer science community that are developing these AI technologies, and then the experts in the domains of application, so clinicians, for example. But the reality is that the technologies that we develop are more likely to be successful, more likely to be trusted if they're co-created with the right stakeholders. So even to ask the right questions in the first place requires clinical input. So we would like to see a really strong connection between the clinical communities and the communities that are developing the technology. So that's the first thing, I think. The second thing, which I was also really interested and pleased to read about, was about the role of ethical AI. So developing technologies that are underpinned and have a strong ethical basis right from the start. And again, this is actually an area of considerable expertise. So we have, for example, at the Turing Institute, data ethicists who specialize in the ethical aspects of data science and AI. And so you can read a number of our reports. David Leslie is one of our ethics fellows who's written a number of reports on this area. The third thing, I think, which is also an area that we're particularly interested in and resonates with the report, was developing robust methods for evaluating AI technologies. So, for example, we recently co-funded the Consort AI guidelines for clinical trials evaluating AI components. So we need better ways of implementing robust evaluation processes for these new technologies. On the more, I suppose, on the more technical side, there's often a trade-off between accuracy and transparency. So in some cases, you may have two methods that are, one is slightly better than the other, let's say, but less interpretable. And so you might decide to use a slightly less accurate method if you gain some interpretability or you gain some explainability from the use of that method. So there's an interesting and complicated relationship between accuracy, explainability, stability of the algorithms. I was interested in this paper that you presented, Raja. So in some cases, you might like to sacrifice some accuracy to gain stability, to gain transparency, to gain interpretability. So we're interested in that kind of intersection between those factors, and we have a project called Project Explain, which I think was referenced earlier, that's looking into those kind of issues. And then finally, I think that it is important to note that we have to advance AI literacy so that both the public, patients, clinicians, the wider society understand the benefits, the limitations, the strengths, and the uncertainties of these methods. So what they can do and what they can't do. So to not oversell things or try and promote things unnecessarily, but to have a realistic assessment of these technologies and what they can deliver. So I was also very interested and very pleased to see some discussion of that. So I think I'll finish there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And of course, happy to talk more.
Thank you, Ben. That was really valuable, and I'm very happy to see this convergence of views. And I believe, I mean, the Turing Institute has a key role to play in these areas, and so I'm very happy to have this connection. Let me now address Robert Medlin, who actually is a member of the scientific committee of AI4People, and who was the director of DG in the past. Robert, your insights.